Hey there, comic book fans! I'm Travis, and it's the Comic Book Roundtable. And tonight we have an old new face. You can't see his face, but we have Luke with us tonight. How's it going, Luke?
Good, gentlemen. How are you guys doing tonight?
Excellent, excellent. And we also, of course, we have Mike Sergeant America with us tonight. How's it going, sir?
Boom! Glad to be here.
Yes. Careful with the booms in the man cave.
Yeah.
Anyway. So we're going to talk some comics. We flipped that imaginary three-sided coin. It came up DC, so we're going to talk DC first this week. What's the book we're all itching to talk about first?
Do you want to talk Mr. Miracle?
Let's talk Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle, issue number 1 of 12 by Tom King and Mitch Geralds. Did it live up to the hype? Everybody went out and bought this. As I say, everybody went out and bought this book, right? Everybody did, except for Mike. He didn't go out and buy it because it was already gone.
Yes.
But you read it digitally, so you're up to speed. So
yes.
So did it live up to the hype?
Oh, I think it was very good. I mean, it's like reading. I don't want to say it's going to sound like it was a cheap knockoff of saying it, but it's like the Vision. I really had like a Vision type feel to the Mr. Miracle character, and it was just great. And it was a little darker than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, well, clearly, I mean, our main character at the beginning of the book seems to have attempted suicide by slitting his wrists, as opposed to just, Mr. Miracle, the character is known for escaping for things. That's what he is. He's the guy that can escape anything. And him laying on the bathroom floor, slitting his wrists, or having had slit his wrists, I guess we'd actually see him do it, is pretty dramatic. Way to start the book out for sure. I really, really like the book. I'm really curious to see where it goes. I feel like with the Vision, when I read that first issue, I had kind of an idea where I thought the book was going to be at anyway. It was clearly going to be a book about the Vision, having a family, living in the DC suburbs, and what's it like for a robotic family to live in the suburbs. Clearly there's a lot more going on in that, but at least that was the kind of the opening of what the book seemed to be, if I can remember, for that first issue. Do you have a sense of where it's going? I mean, do you know? Oh, this is the story that's going to be told.
I have no idea. I mean, I think that's kind of good. I mean, I'll be honest. My Mr. Miracle reading is pretty in depth. I mean, so I'm not going to say I'm necessarily going blind to the last one. Obviously, I mean, the Dark Side War is the last thing of anything Mr. Miracle I read, and even then, before then, it was kind of spotty. So, but I think the way Tom King does his writing, this really can go in a number of ways, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, maybe I'm hoping maybe something like each issue is like, it's not like a. I'm trying to think of. I can't talk good tonight. Comes at where maybe like each issue kind of hits like a theme, or it's not just 12 straight issues. You're kind of getting like a connecting story, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well,
it's tough to say.
It definitely leaves it a lot for the next issue to tell us what all's going on. I mean, because from my thing out of it, what I get out of it is we've got a couple of kind of threads going on in it. Clearly, Darkseid's doing something because Darkseid always is, and we're constantly getting barraged with black panels in these 9-panel grids, telling us, Darkseid is right. Isn't that what it is? It's just Darkseid is. So clearly that's kind of this lingering, eerie thing, this presence that's there. We've got the issue of, did Scott Free actually attempt to kill himself? I mean, because they play light with it because after this whole episode is over with, he goes on a talk show as Mr. Miracle. They kind of joke about the fact that, well, I've escaped everything else, so I tried escaping death. Ha ha ha. But it's very nervous laugh. I mean, it's very, and the way artistically it's done, it's this blurry television, kind of a setting where you're not really getting a clear focus, and occasionally the screen wobbles, you know, so it just really it really gives it an unhinged kind of a feel to it. Like it's, you know, clearly, you know, him as this persona is, at least in my impression, he's falling apart. You know, he's you know, he's kind of on national television, kind of, you know, coming apart at the seams, is to me kind of what it seems like. You know, so he's got that going on. Clearly, like I said, Darkseid's doing something. You know, maybe he's hallucinating too, because he's seen Oberon. And we find out that his best friend, for anybody who has a large knowledge of Mr. Miracle, he had a sidekick named Oberon who basically helped him set up all of his tricks and everything. Well, in this, he's died. He's died of throat cancer, but he still sees him. You know, so he's having this conversation with his wife about his friend who's been dead for a month. So maybe that's part of why he's going through what he's going through, because his best friend basically has just died. There's just a lot of elements that we can explore going forward. I'm not sure what that's going to be. There's weird things in here, like Barda has blue eyes, but she has brown eyes. You know, he makes this comment. I just don't think things are right. At the very end of this, they're getting ready to go into war. You know, they're charging into war. And he's like, whoa, I don't, you know, I mean, I don't think we should be doing this. Something's not right. And of course, you get the impression from Barda that she just thinks he's being kind of, you know, he's having a weak moment. We don't have time for this. We got to go fight the war. And I get the impression from his end of it, it's like, no, there's something worse here. We can't just go fight the war because there's something worse going on. I don't know, we should be jumping through this boom tube kind of a thing. So all elements that I find interesting, but don't leave us, at least me, don't leave me with a clear picture of, oh, this is where the book's going to go.
Right. And I think it's really good is that, I mean, this is one where, again, I don't think you need a whole lot of knowledge of Mr. Miracle to kind of really enjoy it. Because, again, I really don't. And I mean, granted, that don't mean to sound pretentious when I'm saying that, but I mean, it's easily grasped. You can grasp it. And I just love how Tom King's writing style really, it's a perfect fit for the story.
I mean, there's some weird elements in it too. If you don't know anything about the Fourth World characters, like Orion showing up and punching him in the face and telling him to stand up, and punching him in the face, telling him to stand up. I mean, I don't know what you get out of that. I mean, because that character represents something if you know the Fourth World stuff. If you don't, you're like, I mean, I still get it. You know, he's like, I'm going to basically beat you up for being stupid, for trying to kill yourself, kind of a thing, right? But it was really strange, you know, at the same time. I don't know how you take that with no knowledge of who that guy is. You know?
I wouldn't say I have no knowledge, but I had just pieces from other Justice League books and that I knew of, like the, you know, Darkseid equation. And when they mentioned that he's completed the Darkseid equation, that, you know, the All-Father has died. And so it was very interesting to read it from that aspect. I didn't put it on my poll, and of course, like you mentioned, I missed out on it. And I think the problem was when I saw the little bits of artwork in the costume, it was a little bit more of a throwback, a simple feel, kind of what I saw in Vision, and that's what made me tentative to grab it. But of course, all the artwork of Scott himself, without the costume, was definitely yes. And when I see that, that is Sheriff of Babylon. When I see that, and I'm like, definitely, I'd like to read that.
Right. Yeah, it definitely has those elements. You know, when you read it, like Sheriff of Babylon did, as far as the look goes. I mean, you clearly are like, oh yeah, those elements. That 5 o'clock shadow looks very familiar, doesn't it? You know, from that book and stuff. For me and Mike have read that and whatnot. So.
My other hesitation, though, was knowing that it was sold to me as, you know, he's escaping death. So does he escape death or not? I got a little scared off when I read the Moon Knight. You know, is he crazy? Is he not crazy? The Lemire run that just came up. I was a little worried about, I don't know if I want the whole book confusing me to the very last few issues. Because, I mean, it's interesting in that style, but it's also, I want a certain amount of flow to the book, and I guess I worry about how the flow goes.
So you don't trust it based on Sheriff of Babylon. You don't trust that this creative team is going to tell you a story that you're going to enjoy.
And I think that's a problem. I'm probably judging against someone else. So right now I'm enjoying the Vision, but I don't feel that I enjoyed it to the level that you guys, when you originally read it, were enjoying
Sure.
it. So it's not the same artist, but I felt the vision and him in his escape garb, art-wise, was the same. So that's where I'm starting to hit all these tentative steps. And the fact that I was excited for Batman and then became not excited for Batman.
Okay, sure. Sure, and I can understand that. For me, this is nothing like Batman. You know, I mean, to me, this really has its own tone. I don't have to compare it to something else, and that was my struggle with Batman.
Yeah,
and maybe a lot of our struggle. We got used to, you know, what, 3 years? No, more than 3 years of Snyder Batman. Then suddenly having a different Batman was a struggle. For me, that I guess is not the case. For me, it could have been. I enjoyed Sheriff of Babylon so much with these two guys. This could have been, you know, Plastic Man Buys Cheese, and I probably would have picked it up without even looking at anything, reading an interview about it, anything like that, just because I was excited enough about that book that I just have faith that these guys are going to tell an interesting and compelling story. They're going to take some element somewhere that I'm going to go, oh, wow, that's great. I love the whole part at the very beginning where it's like, you know, a kid and the whole, you know, draw whatever you want to draw in class, and he draws God, and the teacher asks all the kids, you know, what'd you draw? Oh, I drew a horsey, I drew a clown, I drew whatever, and one kid goes, I drew God, and the teacher like goes, well, nobody knows what God looks like, and until now. And the look on the kid's face when he says until now, you know, I don't know, is that Scott? Is that who? I don't know, but I don't know. I from that point on, I had goosebumps. I'm like, oh, this is just going to be awesome. I'm sold on just that little bit of line. So, yeah.
My only other concern was, like you said, he does draw a bit of knowledge, and I knew enough that, like I said, I could piece it together, but I was worried there may be too much. Like if they go to New Genesis or somewhere else like that, if I don't have enough core knowledge, can I stick with it? And that was my only other worry.
I can't imagine that they're going to make the book, that they would make the book so obtuse that it would chase people away because of that. I don't think, because the character himself is obscure to the grander scheme of things. You know, it's just not, you know, there are those of us who love those characters, you know, but we're few and far between, I think, because people just aren't aware of them. I think a lot more people would like them if that stuff was more readily available and easier to consume and stuff. But yeah, I mean, and I could be totally wrong. This whole thing could come apart and be a total sham. I just don't think so. I mean, I have faith, like I said, in the people that are doing it, that it's going to be good and it's going to be intriguing. So you're at least hanging around for the next issue, Mike?
Yeah, I think I am putting it on the poll until something happens that forces me off. So I am going to be on it. I guess I took for it granted also that I have a store. I was sure that there'd be enough issues, but like you said, there's enough talk that everybody pulled it off the shelf. So
yeah. Anything else we want to say about Mr. Miracle? So I'm looking at I'm looking at the comments. Ryan C's on. He says that he'll shill his own Mr. Miracle review, but chances are you guys have already seen it. I can't remember Ryan's link to his written reviews. So Ryan, if you get a chance to jump on this after it's off, drop your link in the comments so people can check out. Because he's basically describing it as Mulholland Drive with the suicide attempt at the start of the story, rather than at the end. So if you're familiar with that movie, that gives you another frame of reference to kind of look at the whole thing as to, which is a great way of looking at it also and whatnot. And he's saying that he'd read a King Gerald's Plastic Man for sure too. So
Mulholland Drive, was that the third movie in the Fast and Furious series?
Yeah, that's what it was. God.
Sorry, Ryan.
Oh man. At any rate, yeah. So I really enjoyed it. I love that character. I'm intrigued to see what's going on. You know, how damaged of a person is he, and what are we gonna get? The Barda with blue eyes and brown eyes has me just intrigued to no end. That part is just kind of I don't know what to think of that, so I'm really curious about that aspect of it. Anyway, what else do we want to talk about DC wise? That was your only DC book, Mike?
No, oh, actually, I guess
okay.
I have one actual physical copy of
Okay,
Red Hood and the Outlaws.
I was gonna say, I thought you picked this up. Oh, you've got the variant cover, right?
Yes, yes, indeed. Tragic death. So
Nice.
you know, it's my
Luke,
favorite part of the whole story is this is Bizarro. So it was very interesting to see them tackle this. You know, I waited 12 issues basically for this issue.
Right.
But
So
it was, yeah.
So yeah. So what do you think?
Enjoyable. I mean, the story continues to be strong, even with the little contact that you see of Bizarro. The discussion between Red Hood and Artemis, I thought, was still solid between the two of them. Makes me care for this team. Starting out with the memories of Bizarro, once again, I thought was hilarious. Almost reminded me of the 6-issue mini that we read with, you know, fun, almost childlike or, you know, kiddie-like artwork, and it was just lovable, especially when you get into, you know, the Justice League with Wet and Rope Girl and Batman. Because Batman will always be Batman.
Right.
But and all that was cute and everything, and then when you get to the double page splash of his mind and how he thinks and how he sees, that to me was another beautiful aspect of this book, to see the distortion of the character. And I mean, I think that's what I loved about it. You saw the tragedy in him because he was flawed. Luthor thought he was flawed. Black Mask treated him like a child. But then the team instantly makes you care about him with Artemis and Red Hood. So I continue to love this storyline and can't wait to see what they do with the character.
Okay. Luke, what'd you think?
Well, it's still mind-boggling that this title is still good.
Yeah. 13 issues
is still good.
Right.
Under the Soy, his art, I'm just loving the art on this title with him. I mean, credit where credit is due. Lobdell, he's got everyone's voices down to a T, and I love Lex Luthor's part in this. So it's no matter how much they try to really push this, he's sort of a good guy. I think it's good every once in a while to just kind of really see the snotty, arrogant, side to Lex every once in a while. But and I did. And I don't know if anyone read the Forever Evil thing. I like kind of like the reference a little bit to the Forever Evil to Bizarro there. Yep. That said, what we had the issues. Well, I had issues with the prior Red Hood runs. Is that sometimes, well, not sometimes, it was the Achilles heel of it was it's just got goofy just to be goofy sometimes, and then you lose the voice. Now, what I'm a little worried is that in the last page, it could be very end. I'm hoping Liddell does this right, but if he doesn't, this could be the thing we've all been kind of worried about. Does he just now make Bizarro just goofy beyond redemption? And I'm hoping he doesn't do that.
Right. Whereas Bizarro is the current Bizarro is fun. In that, I mean, as much as me and Mike liked the Bizarro miniseries because it really was childlike and goofy. What I think's been fun about this Bizarro is you can have fun with him because he's got kind of clearly has a different viewpoint of seeing the world, and so we get kind of weird talk, and he truncates words and that sort of stuff. But he lovably seems to work within the universe and doesn't stick out like a sore thumb as being a cartoon character. At the end of this, he is so over the top with his round rim glasses and his little curl and his I mean, all he needed was to have a cup of tea and his pinky stuck out, sipping on it and smoking a pipe also to just be. So yeah, I totally get where you're going, Luke, with that. The last page of this, it makes you very worried that whereas this issue, like Mike was talking about, has lots of great moments in it where you get this heartfelt. They like this dumb, lovable guy. He actually means he's not just a thing that came out of that was hatched out of a jar. They actually have a personal attachment to him that goes beyond go smash that mountain, kind of thing. So they build all this emotional weight to the character to make him even more important to the grand scheme of things, and to be an actual person in these people's lives that matter. And they end it with him, I don't know, being a caricature of something that could blow. You're right. We'll take everything that was in this comic that gave you emotional weight to go, yes, feelings, actual decent written feelings. And then they give you, smarty pants hipster Bizarro at the end. Could just totally wipe out what was there. All of it gets thrown out for a dorky issue or something. I don't know.
I think we're going to see a Flowers for Algernon, though, that this is going to be short-lived.
Yeah, he's going to be smart for a while, and then it's going to he's going to peel back up.
They did say there's got to be an adjustment period to the kryptonite. So I mean, you're right, Mike. This isn't going to be long term, but still, it's just what Lobdell, what he did before.
And I can understand being scared about that. Yeah, and I guess I just see Luthor's always creates flaws. This can't be a true fix. Luthor always fails in this part of it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Like I said, I see both aspects of it. It could be a fun issue of them having to put up with him being a smarty pants, and it could be a fun, laughable issue because we've had some heavy issues. He basically was on near death's door. Artemis had to put down what was her best friend a second time, basically kill her off again. So there's been some heavy. So I can see having a light issue, having an issue where we laugh our asses off because they have to, like I had said, they have to put up with smarty pants Bizarro could be fun if they do it the right way. Or it could come across as basically making what happened in this issue feel disingenuous. So
this makes me also realize I could probably read a Super Lex monthly book.
I'd be interested in that because it does kind of hit that note, like what you like about Marvel's
Infamous
Iron Man, where he's trying to be the good guy, but it's not his base characteristic. So he has to go through the process of, this did have that moment of him remembering that Bizarro, which basically kind of was his version of a puppy dog. Him being sad about that. So there was that moment there, but there was also this whole side of him going, the whole, pulling the corporate, BS that you guys are, violating my trade right by using this Bizarro and blah, 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 blah. That whole end of it, which is, classic Lex Luthor, the whole corporate end of it. So yeah, so some good stuff. And I agree. And I continue for 13 issues now to be shocked that somewhere he hasn't dropped a landmine in the middle of this whole thing to make me go, oh yes, thank you for reminding me that you write this book on now. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Alrighty. Luke, I'm assuming that you picked up Detective Comics 962.
Yes, sir.
So what are you thinking of the whole intelligence arc, the stuck with Azrael?
I think it started it started average, and I think it ended pretty good. Zatanna was awesome. I love Zatanna. The flashbacks with current day, it all was the Fourth. He did a great job of just mingling that through. Azrael, I'm kind of curious. So is he going to keep the suit he had, like the Nightfall time suit that Lucius is going to work on, or Luke's going to work on? Or is he going to get like the revised Nightfall? I don't know.
I got the impression he was going back to his older suit because he kind of wanted to. So now he's got a little piece of Batman AI rolling around in his head now too, right? And he wasn't. I got the impression he wasn't really happy about that, and that he kind of wanted to get back to being himself, not rolling with these other things. I wasn't completely clear on the end of it either. That kind of the 2 days later, prologue. kind of a thing as to exactly what. But I got the impression he wanted to kind of go back to his old thing, didn't he?
Yeah, that's why I got kind of confused on it. He said all I get was Luke was gonna make a suit, and
Oh,
I just
well, okay,
didn't
so
know.
right. So it says here, he says, I've told Lucas that while I appreciate the suit he built for me, I would prefer a new version of my Azrael suit. So I don't
Okay,
know.
so we're not the Nightfall.
Right, we're gonna get something else. Because the cover is the Nightfall one, right? Is that the Nightfall one? See, here's the thing: is I mean, I'll be upfront as far as I've read a lot of Batman and whatnot. This is an era, and the era that Azrael comes from. I wasn't reading comics then, so and I haven't picked up those issues yet to really be filled in on all the nuts and bolts of the character. So what I know about the character most really came from this issue. So yeah. So yeah, that was a curious part to see exactly, so I don't know, is we going to see this character anymore, or is he going to get put out the pasture for quite some time, or?
Yeah, I kind of took it, that Az might be kind of taking a knee for.
Okay.
I get it. I mean, that was pretty deep what he kind of went through. So kind of if they did do kind of a little modified send off to him, it would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're kind of seeing what he's gone through, that was the one thing I was at the very end. What do you think about the race part in all this?
Oh, well, because we have to go back to Tim Drake being gone and all of that stuff. So I don't know. There are elements that pop up in the Fourth's writing, his storytelling, elements that he wants to keep kind of bringing back, that I feel like. So anytime he's used Rosh before, and I just feel like quit using the same people over and over again. There got to be other people, because he wrote Red Hood and the Outlaws while they were dealing with the whole League of Assassins stuff and whatnot. So I don't know. So just kind of when I see those faces crop up in his writing, it's like, oh, am I getting more of that, or am I going to get something different? I don't know. I don't know what I think of that. I mean, clearly it strikes me as there's a larger conspiracy going on, because we have this hooded person with the weird sickle thing that scooped up Tim, and if you read some of the Superman stuff, there was the whole Doomsday thing in Action Comics, and he scooped up that. So clearly there's a bigger picture, and is it its own thing? Is it going to tie into the Superman Doomsday Clock stuff, or is it going to tie into the metal stuff? I don't know. So I guess I don't know. I'm uneasy about that, because it feels to me like we're going to get a lot of elements that, instead of, I don't know. I guess I don't know. That makes me weary that it's going to be a lot more conspiratorial elements that I don't know. Batman's supposed to know a lot of this stuff that's going on, and there seems to be a lot of stuff he doesn't know about going on in Detective Comics. It's been a large story about him not knowing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's, or Snyder. I think you're seeing a little bit of the Snyder kind of run in time. Maybe not as much as he doesn't know, or maybe he just. Oh, I don't want to say that too. Yeah, I was initially going to say it's the same thing Snyder did, was that he underestimated a lot of things, or he might have, or it just completely dismissed it. Or maybe not arrogance, it's just maybe his. What's the word I'm looking for? I will just say overconfident. That said, this one, there's stuff that I think it kind of goes beyond sort of Gotham a little bit. Yeah, I can definitely see he just doesn't know.
So are you saying that you think he's like, swinging for a home run when he doesn't have that to do? I mean, we made the Snyder comment that sometimes he's the overconfidence thing, that he's biting off more than he can chew as a writer by putting all these elements in.
No, like what I was kind of like in Snyder's run, where he's like we go back to like, the Court of Owls. You know, what I mean, it's like, yeah, no one knows stuff better than me, and sure enough, the Court of Owls. Or I think you see some of that a little bit.
Ah,
here,
okay, I see what you're saying. Right.
but but it goes beyond. Like the League of Shadows, that just screamed Court of Owls. Like, yeah, they're not. They're not.
Yeah, they're a boogeyman. They're not real. Then they're real. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But that's once we get into I think that's where you kind of get in, where you're kind of hitting on, is like you might see some of the metal stuff kind of creep in, or the Doomsday Clock,
right?
The stuff that's going on that's beyond him right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, he doesn't know.
Right. And I don't have a problem with them mentioning some of that stuff if that's how it's going to be in the story, because clearly the stuff's coming. It can't be. I mean, I'm okay with it because it's a universe that's a shared universe that elements are mentioned. I just don't want to get bogged down or lost in those elements, and it feel like it can't tell its own story until those elements get told wherever else. That's a bummer. Yeah. We are not getting all that kind of stuff. I will continue to say Martinez on art. Yeah. I really another one of those superhero books, just fantastic. Superhero art. I love this 2-page spread where it's big huge Clayface there with the big hammers going to town, but and it's broken up really well to get the paneling and whatnot. Great artist. I think he does faces well. So he does action elements really well. I don't know what I think of yet again. I'm getting tired of seeing people break people. I will say that's getting old. It seems like that element gets used a lot. The whole breaking whatever bats. Am I supposed to be extra? Am I supposed to find that extra funny because of course Batman got broken, right, and then Azrael took over, right?
Yeah,
and now Azrael gets broke the same way. Am I supposed to find that extra kind of ironic or funny or whatever? I don't know. But I do like I said, I do really like this guy's artwork. Yeah, just stellar stuff. So some good artwork in there. And I agree with you. I mean, the whole Zatanna in this is awesome. Her both current time and flashbacks, excellent done. The characterization of those two characters, what their relationship is to each other and that stuff. Were all really good elements, of the story too. And I love the moment in here where Batwoman is running down some stairs because they're running away to hide the dwarf guy. And Z is like, you can see her out through the window in the distance, and she's just frying things with lightning bolts. And she's going by. Wonder Woman's looking at her going, I want to marry her. And I'm just like, yeah, who does it? Who does it? It was, I really got a kick out of that too. That's right.
Speaking of Batwoman, I'm sure it's deliberate, but have you noticed that since the Batwoman title kind of kicked off, you're kind of seeing less of a major emphasis of Batwoman in detective?
Yes, but I thought about that, but at the same time, right now, clearly the story is focused on Azrael. So if the elements move, and before that, the story was kind of orphan. So I feel like we're moving through characters in the book. So I'm okay with that because we can't, because it's not supposed to be. I think to start out with, they originally thought it was going to be a more Batwoman-driven book, right? Because Batwoman was running the team for Batman, right? But clearly, with their own book, we're going to see less of that, I would guess. But they haven't really been doing anything where anybody's been led anyway. I mean, since the initial story, because we had the Steffi, we had the that syndicate. What were they called? The victim syndicate. That whole thing.
Yeah.
That was still Batman driven because, of course, it had more to do with Batman than it had to do with anybody else. And then we've been all these other little stories along the way, so we haven't had a chance to go back to it being, okay, team, let's go take care of something. Batman's still a pretty heavy element in the book, and I originally thought that he was going to be less of a heavy element, and I would assume he's going to be a heavy element going forward because, of course, now there's the whole let's get Tim Drake back. He's alive. Let's figure out where he's at and get him back. That would be a priority for Batman, I would assume. So I figure he's going to take the reins. I don't have a problem with that because I've been enjoying the stories we've been telling otherwise. And they keep saying she's not going to be gone, but yeah, you're right. She's not really playing the leading role like we originally thought maybe she would.
Isn't he mainly a heavy element because of that nth metal?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the robot bunny. It keeps showing back up. So
Thank goodness.
yeah. Anything else you want to say about Detective?
No, I mean it's been good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so much better than the New 52.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah. It's been very good.
yeah. And for something that's double shipped, I'm really enjoying it. It's one of the books that doesn't feel like it's collapsing under its own weight of, having too much to tell or stretching things out because they have to fill 40 pages a month instead of 20 pages a month. I feel like I'm getting my everything I want out of the book. It does, so definitely enjoyable. So yeah. Any other DC books, Luke, you want to talk about?
Nah, I mean Harley 25th was pretty decent. Gotham Academy finally came to a close.
Right.
Suicide Squad has its moments. And Flash.
Who's doing art on Suicide Squad right now?
Right now, it's Vasquez. It hasn't been really consistent. They have the one issue where Mike, he's doing Aquaman right now.
Cedric, yeah.
Yes. I know he's coming back. He's doing another issue, I think, in September.
Yep. I'll pick that up.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it hasn't really been a consistent artist on Suicide Squad lately.
Suicide Squad is in the end of New Superman, issue number 14. The Shanghai is being locked down under some super bubble. Emperor Superman is basically their equivalent of Superman Prime is taken over. He is inhuman. He has rejected his human side. He is all pure alien and pure power. He's going to restore the power of China. He's sick of all the Western influences on China that's making the Chinese weak and stupid and all this stuff. So he is going to reign with an iron fist, yada, 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 so on and so forth. They briefly have the, they call it the Great 10. What are they called? There's like these 10 superheroes of China that have been around for quite a while. And I always kind of wonder, well, where are they at in this comic book? Well, they've shown up to try and put this down. Of course, they're trying to fight Superman, basically. They lose pretty dramatically. Our heroes kind of work their way up to get to where they're about ready to fight them. Our hero finally gets heat vision. He's going through the slow process of learning how to use all of his powers and make them all work. He finally gets heat vision. So, of course, it's a typical when Superman fights Superman equivalent. They always get in the heat vision war. And they're like back at each other. And then all of a sudden, our Superman, the new Superman, his powers start to kind of weaken in a strange way. And then all of a sudden, Green Sword goes through the chest of Emperor Superman. And he drops dead. And Suicide Squad is sitting there going, yeah, we've come to kill Superman. And guess what? There's more than one Superman on our list. And Deadshot's got a katana that's made out of kryptonite. And they're like, well, we know that you aren't just going to die from kryptonite exposure because you're not a Kryptonian. You're a human with Kryptonian powers. But they kind of implied that they're fairly sure if they drive that katana through his chest, that his human body will die too. So, who knows what's going to go on from there? So it's Harley, Killer Croc, and Deadshot. They had made it in before the bubble had dropped over, over them. And Harley Quinn seems to be written in typical voice for Harley Quinn. Not much dialogue with Deadshot, and the dialogue there is a Killer Croc. He's this kind of in between meathead kind of a thing, and I don't know what I want my voice for Killer Croc to be anymore, but it hasn't felt like anybody's hit it right in a long time. So I don't know, but so it'll be interesting to see new Superman with the Superman. The Justice League of China fight against the Suicide Squad. Could be entertaining. So not a big fan of the art. The art has changed to this Billy Tan. It's a bit rough. But I still like the story, and I like the character enough that I'm going to stick with it.
I remember when it started was Bogdanovich who was doing the art on that.
Mm-hmm. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. It had the right kind of look to it for this kind of fun exploration of this kind of arrogant kid becoming a superhero kind of a thing. But now it's not. I don't know. It's not.
Do they not have the Batman and Wonder Woman of China in there anymore?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they do. Okay.
It's part of the Justice League of China. They're kind of they're dealing with their own things. The Wonder Woman of China, we find out, is actually an ancient entity, spirit of China. She's taken human form to be Wonder Woman. For part of this issue, she's a snake, and of course, Batman had a thing for her. Yeah. Without them all kind of knowing it. So now he's kind of weirded out the fact that, okay, now she's a snake. How do I deal with that? And then for half the issue, she's half woman, half snake, and they kiss at one point, and New Superman's like going, oh, this is so gross. She's a snake. What are you doing? Tugging a snake? Kind of a thing. But she ends up going back to being fully human again and whatnot. I mean, some of the art is really good. I mean, like I said, the whole, Heat Vision versus Heat Vision was that was a fun element of it. But just not it. It has elements of animation that I don't care for, I guess. It's all right. It's not like inhibitive to me reading the story. It was just a lot better than what it is now. So. But as a whole, I'm still reading it and still finding it a fun book because I like the characters. So. Alrighty. Any other DC books? DC news? Anything happening?
No.
I hear there may have been a change to the ending of Justice League because they were going to leave it on a cliffhanger. Cliffhanger, thank you, ending. And they decided to kind of put a rounded ending on it so that there's conclusion. So, and that might be part of the reshoots. So,
I can see that, not wanting to leave it open because they don't know how this is going to be responded to, and leave it open in a way that they can use the characters other places so they can get that next Wonder Woman movie out if nothing else, right? See, so that was clearly a huge success for them. They don't want to get her hung up waiting for another Justice League movie to get done before they go on to whatever other elements they might want to do. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to watch it regardless, however they blow it up. I'll probably be there and watch it. So hadn't heard that though. That's interesting.
Well, and I think part of it too is because they don't know if they'll get Schneider back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right.
So the tone of it, I think, was the issue too.
Sure. Well, they're worried they couldn't get somebody else to produce the second. I see. They need to end it. They shouldn't leave it as a cliffhanger anyway. Yeah, they need to end it. That way they can make the next movie however they want to make it, as opposed to it literally having to be, like The Hobbit, where it's 3 movies to tell one story kind of a thing. So yeah. Sure. That makes sense. They probably should have planned for that in the first place. Director issues or not, they should have. I think that would have been smarter to have planned that way anyway. Huh. Okay. Cool. Well, no other real news. Whatnot. Let's roll on to Marvel.
All right.
What you got, Mike? What's your one Marvel book?
Old Man Logan. As I mentioned in my haul video, so this is Old Man Logan number 27, and it's been restarted a couple times, and my Manifest Destiny just hit 30. So this was an excellent one. I mean, this is the Hulks that were from Logan's old universe, that, the Banner children, the genetic waste of people that he had for kids, have captured Wolverine and are just torturing him, killing him over and over again because they hate him. And Wolverine is after them because they grabbed some nuclear weapons and are trying to basically annihilate a large chunk of the earth. So this is great because it starts off with, once again, for the people who read the Lemire run of Old Man Logan, it was, or even, no, sorry, the Miller run of it, the original. It was, him and Hawkeye hanging out together in his old barn, and Hawkeye, of course, is blind, and it was really nice to see that. This one ends with Logan is rescued, and it's young Clint Barton, with the purple suit and the giant arrowhead on it, or the V. So it was good. It's putting it back to that buddy kind of feel, and so I've enjoyed it, especially the Deodato art. And Brisson is writing it. He's doing a good job. So I mean,
so is it that number? I mean, why is it that number already?
I think there was a whole bunch where it might have got double shipped during the month. So I jumped off of it for a while, and somebody told me that it's coming out twice a month, and I'm trying to remember when I spoke with the last one with you, but I think it's just so many of these are getting kicked out,
That's amazing.
So if it's not double shipped, it's definitely a.
When I saw your video and you were talking about being that number, I thought that they had already started the legacy number with it or something.
No, not to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure 26 was my last one. So.
Huh. Wow.
Because otherwise, for Logan or Wolverine, it'd be hundreds.
Yeah, but not if it's Old Man. If they're counting the Old Man stuff as being its own thing, right? Then it would just be the original run plus, some of the other stuff they've thrown in between. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand how any of that works or when that's going to start. So that's why I wondered. It's kind of like, wow, that's interesting.
So who's the art's been better during their run? Was it Del Mundo or Deodato for an Old Man Logan story?
I want to say, I think it was Deodato who started originally, yeah. And then it wasn't until Lemire started writing it at the beginning of this run that we got Sorrentino, and then he jumped off.
Sorrentino, yeah, my bad, man. Yeah, for this one, whose art's been better, Sorrentino or
Mundo?
I like Sorrentino's style, but I mean Deodato can also nail out a whole bunch of pages, and I like the look of the people he does and some of the his backgrounds. Deodato does great backgrounds too.
So in the comments, Cusack Clone 81 is saying that Legacy is 31 for Old Man Logan.
Okay.
So did they start? I'll have to look that up. See, I just can't imagine that it jumped that many issues, because I know you dropped it for a while, but we were still in the teens, and it hasn't been that many. In 4 months, there's no way it could have gone from the teens to 31. I wouldn't think.
I'll try and look that up real quick.
Okay.
Well, you guys are doing yours.
So he's saying, at least according to the website we won't name here, Bleeding Cool, they're saying that that's what it is from the Legacy thing.
All right.
From Bleeding Cool that's what it is. So I don't know. I mean, if you find out for sure when we're there, let us know, because I'd be curious, and it's curious as to why. Are they starting it early because they don't have a Generations comic for that? Well, they did. They had the Wolverine, right? Wolverine.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know. Interesting. Anyway, the only Marvel book I picked up was Ms. Marvel, issue number 21. No legacy numbering here. It actually is issue number 21. And this character is not who I thought it was. I thought it was going to be like her best friend, turn, somehow convinced to do the bidding of the city and kind of be on the wrong side of, throwing people in jail that are different than you. No, it's somebody else that she knows, though. It's another person who she calls him a friend, but he's kind of like an acquaintance, somebody that she's grown up with since she was 4, a kid who's always been in the neighborhood, has been in the comic multiple times, off and on. I don't really want to spoil it, but anyway, at the very end of it, we get a reveal of who it is. We get kind of an explanation as to how he got kind of disenfranchised and how he ends up kind of taking on this role of being this person. And at the very, very end, she is kind of worn out. She's needs to get some food in her because she's been using her powers a whole bunch, and she burns calories when she uses her powers, and she needs to eat something. And at the very end of it, she like I said, worn out, and she's had this conversation with this guy, and she reveals who she is to him. kind of like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I took my mask off. So the fallout from this should be interesting afterwards. I've been kind of not so high on the book. I really enjoyed this issue quite a bit. Kind of getting back into some more elements of the comic that I am enjoying, I guess. So I am anyway, so I'm looking forward to what's next out of the story and whatnot. And I'm glancing at the comments, and Cusack Clone 81 is saying that issue 25 is when Ms. Marvel gets the legacy treatment. I feel like the editor notes at the bottom of the old Marvel comic. Thank you. We appreciate it. We need that. And you're live when I need it. So I'll just have to put you on speed dial. So when I'm reading this stuff at home, you can let me know. So 25, so they were going to jump. Is it going to jump? So at issue 25, it's kind of going to go to, I don't know. I'm curious with this one, if they're going to add just the Ms. Marvel stuff, or are they going to go so far as to do the Carol Danvers Ms. Marvel stuff? I don't know. Be interesting to see one way or the other as far as that goes. Not that it matters to me. I'm collecting it. I know what I'm getting. I feel sorry for anybody who's collecting it after the fact and trying to buy it in singles. When it suddenly takes these giant hops and whatnot, it's going to make zero sense. So diving through the back issue bins. But
so Old Man Logan, Lemire #1 was January 27th, 2016. As I flipped through, I jumped off, I believe, like issue, I gotta get past the Sorrentinos. Yeah, it was like in the teens as we get into like the space ones, and John grabbed a couple of those. But no, it was, I mean, here's the late teens, and then we get into our Sons of Guns. Yeah, there's 25, 24. So it looks like everything is here. So this is all from the Lemire run.
Huh.
So I haven't seen any jump as of yet that I can see.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know then. Don't know. But then maybe Bloody Cool doesn't know what they're talking about too. So
Yeah.
Alrighty, Luke, did you get a Marvel book this week?
I got the title That Shall Remain Nameless. And,
okay. Written by
the author who shall remain nameless.
Who's been on the book for more than a decade? Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some points in this book where it's like your interest gets piqued. Park Industries is gone, so hopefully you start to get the change of the tone of the character. The Spider-Man suit is gone. The Iron Man knockoff suit that's gone. But there is one part in this book, and I swear it's like I had a hammer in my left hand, and I was just like beating over my head, going, "No, my God, what are you doing?" So when Spider-Man does this thing, he basically can take his suit on and off. He just says suit off, and he's wearing whatever. He's wearing his civilian clothes or whatnot. So when he's fighting Doc Ock in this, he uses technology that basically fries the suit. It's like an EMP. So it basically destroys the suit. But so when the suit's destroyed, you're basically, what's he wearing underneath? How they kind of segue from going from the Spider-Man Iron Man suit to the classic Spider-Man suit is they reached back and did like the whole Underoos thing from Civil War II. So I was like, so he's wearing the old suit underneath the Iron Man suit for this one. It just felt so cheap. I was just like, no, because literally any time throughout this run that he goes, hey, he just says, change my suit. You get shoot off, and then it's wearing his regular clothes. You mean this one time you're going in, you really think that? That just sounded like such a shortcut.
Yeah.
For Slott to do that is that he's just conveniently wearing the classic Spider-Man suit underneath. It's like, no, Slott, whatever. But there's a chance for us to kind of get Spider-Man back in good graces. We'll see, but
that is ridiculous though. Elements like that, because it's not like us as comic book readers don't think about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on. That's the kind of stuff we have long conversations about, right? About that kind of crazy thing. How does that work? And then to suddenly pull something like that, it's like, come on.
I mean, one thing I will say, I mean, I'm kind of mixed feelings on how Doc Ock is kind of being treated right now. This way his character, I mean, the way the character acts is classic Doc Ock, but it's just, I don't know if you've been kind of keeping up with it. He basically, throughout at the end of the Clone Saga, he basically got like a new version of his body, younger, different version of it.
Oh, okay.
It's you get like the character acts and the tropes or whatever that Doc Ock had. It's still there, but it's just, I don't know. I just like the classic design. You know, the goofy goggles and the bowl cut haircut. It's a little chubby. It's just, I don't know. But at least as far as, I mean, the character itself, it was there. So, I mean, had that go for it. But We'll see. I don't know. It's, same old, I guess. But glimmer of hope, but we'll see.
In the last Avengers, reading with Doc Ock as Superior Ock, I had no idea. I thought he took one of Peter's clone bodies, so I was actually surprised to hear this.
Yeah. Interesting, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, still waiting for a creator change on that book. Then I'll try some Spider-Man, but until then, I just don't want to venture into it. So, yeah. Alrighty. Any other Marvel books? That's it for Marvel books, huh? Marvel news.
Next Friday, Defenders is out.
Oh, that's right. Everybody gets your Netflix already, so you can binge watch however many episodes there are. Then I'm really curious about it. I'm curious to see how that all works with those 4 characters.
Did I see something where basically Disney was ending a partnership with Netflix?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. My understanding is they're going to end their partnership. It's not going to affect the Marvel Netflix produced shows, at least to start out with. It's not going to. They're going to create their own content on their own channel. They're not going to show Marvel movies anymore on Disney. Movies will not be on Netflix anymore. So the stuff that's being produced on Netflix will stay, but like you won't see. So I won't be able to watch all the Marvel movies that I don't go to the movie theater to watch, basically, is what's going to happen. So
not till you get that personal Marvel channel.
I'm not going to pay for yet another streaming service to watch Disney stuff.
Well, because DC is doing their one because of Young Justice is going to be on that one.
Yep, and I'm going to miss it because I'm not going to. I'm not going to pay for another streaming. That's too many streaming stuff as it is.
Yes.
I mean, that's getting to the point to where even if you cancel your cable and go, I'm canceling my cable, Dish, Direct, whatever, that equivalent, and going with streaming services to watch all of your stuff, you know, Netflix, Amazon, you know, Hulu, you're paying as much or more. And then with net neutrality potentially going the way it's going, who knows how well that stuff's going to stream on top of it. I was disappointed to hear it. I understand why they're doing it, because why not control your own content and get your own money off of it in a better way, in a more controlled fashion? I get it. But as a consumer, that sucks. So
yeah.
But my understanding is that came out, and part of the initial conversation was that was not going to affect those Marvel Netflix shows. So hopefully not. Because I've been finding them all entertaining in one fashion or another. Even Iron Fist was entertaining in a way, but entertaining in slow kung fu, but it was entertaining. Alrighty, so I forgot. Yeah, next Friday. That's cool. Looking forward to that. Right on. Okay, any other Marvel news? I don't really think of anything. Okay, want to move on to some independent books? Talk about some independent books. What do we want to talk about?
Mike, did you get anything?
Manifest Destiny, like I mentioned, number 30. So this is what's...
Is that Sacagawea and Child on the...
Yes, it is. So this is what started my pull list many a year ago. Like I said, of course, because they take breaks, they're only on 30. They are in the Dakotas. Their fort has been attacked by a fog that causes dark hallucinations. They start seeing monsters they've encountered. They start seeing each other as villains. So luckily they start a fire, burn some herbs, and that seems to cure everything. But unfortunately, the fight that Sacagawea has with Lewis, yes, Lewis, I believe, ends up causing her to go into labor. So she needs to have the baby. They can't give her the smoke, so she is still hallucinating through the whole thing, seeing the former grandfather that tortured her, other creatures that she has fought. So everybody looks like a monster to her. Lewis and Clark are also still worried because they've now told one other person, Lewis has told one other person about the true mission that they're on. It's either Sacagawea, it's either the baby, or it's about that they have to explore the arches that they keep finding. Much like the St. Louis Arch that keeps popping up, and that's like gateways or portals to some other world. The baby is born, everything is wonderful. They give Sacagawea the smoke. They leave the fort, which is somewhat on fire because that was their only line of defense. And they go looking for what caused the fog, and we find out that it is coming from an invisible arch. That's why they couldn't find it before. And of course, Travis's hated villain, which I guess all those guys are called the Undesirables. So it was very interesting. I don't know, historically, these are subscribed prisoners who are stuck with the army, prescribed. But either way, they're forced to be with the army, and they're doing all the crap work. One of them turns on the other and pushes him through the portal when he figures out what it is, and then goes back and tells them this is where the portal is. And well, he kind of reached in there and then he got sucked through, and they're like, the guy was a scaredy cat. He's not going to do that. And so your rotten prisoner's like, no, that's truly what happened. So once again, I think they brought him back so that you remember him, and hopefully within the next 10 arcs, 10 issues, he gets disposed of.
It'll be satisfying when they get to my neck of the woods and they're traveling down the Snake River and they put that dude out of his misery right next to my house. That'll be awesome.
So, yeah, it's continued to be a good book. I like it. I think they figured out the pacing and the story is going really well. So I'm happy with it. I'm staying on. So
cool. That's funny. I knew they were going to get rid of that guy. That scumbucket. Ugh. Can't stand him. Ugh. Well, let's see. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk Kill or Be Killed.
Yes.
Issue number 11.
So good.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah. So in this issue, of course, we once again start out with a scene that basically the book started out with issue 1, with this guy just going through this like hotel kind of place, apartment complex, just rocking it, man. He's blasting people, shooting people down, and beating them with pistol whipping them with his shotgun, and just all kinds of stuff like that. And basically because he's telling us this story where he's telling us the story after the fact. Oh yeah, you remember this scene, which I think is kind of fun because I've been talking for a while now about the fact that he's gonna have to come back to this whole I'm a rock star vigilante killer dude, and because in the current the current timeline, he's a flake. He doesn't know whether he's, crazy, not crazy, or whatever kind of thing. So when are we getting back? So it's funny to get back to that. And they basically say, oh yeah, we just wanted to remind you in case you're one of those readers that forgot. I know some of you didn't forget. I don't know. It sounds funny. It was a funny way of telling the story, talking to us, the readers. I like that kind of story element in this book where he's talking to us, knowing we're reading reading this story about him, kind of a thing. So I really enjoyed that part. Of course, we get, back to the current, He's trying to straighten up. He's found out that he's off his meds. He goes back to a doctor, gets back on his meds. Everything seems to be fine. Clearly that demon he saw was just something that happened to be, he remembered it from when he was a kid because his dad had it in a whole bunch of different, on a bunch of different art. They show that art in here. And he's like, yeah, it must be what it is. And then it starts creeping in on him. It's like, because he goes, how that is when there's just something you remember from way back and it's like, you never forget it. This must be that. But at the same time, I don't remember ever seeing this stuff. So that starts to creep in. Then he gets violently ill, so he goes down the same road. Maybe it was real. I don't know. I just really love it because it keeps us as the readers kind of not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Is he just somebody who's suffering from schizophrenia? This is one of the evil voices telling him to do bad stuff? Or is this a real supernatural element in the book? And then at the end, he's going to going to a Halloween party.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
So going so well for you.
Yeah, he's got his life back together again, but he's going to this thing. He's in the coffee shop that the ex-girlfriend that maybe he's going to get back together with, the love of his life, he's maybe going to get back together with her. He's in that coffee shop and some Russian dude comes in and starts asking questions about his girlfriend and about him. And of course he thinks he's tricked everybody. He wrote a big long letter to the newspapers, faking that he was leaving town. He thought he tricked everybody into not looking for him. The cops quit looking for him, but suddenly the Russians show back up again. So, he's thinking, they haven't looked for him. So he's back to killing people again because he knifes the guy at the very end of it. Well, I love the kid in the coffee shop though. It's like, who are you supposed to be? I'm Nixon. Who? I was like, wow. But some good stuff. Great book.
I mean, it's just, I love how he just really just delve into the self-doubt on this thing. Even to the point is like, maybe I got extra credit because I killed 2 people in 1 month, right? So
right.
That's why I got a month credit.
Right. That's why he wasn't sick that extra month. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I'll be honest, I was like, by a third of the way through, you're kind of like, well, I was just wondering, and maybe, I don't know. I know he said it's like an ongoing, like, more than like 12 issues. It's like, part of me was like, well, how long could this kind of go on, Then it's like, oh, okay, this can go on for a little bit longer now. I think they can spin in and out of this kind of cycle that he's in for a while and it still be entertaining, I think, as long as they explore different elements of it. I think that, it will continue to be, love the art. The art's awesome. Art is just awesome.
It's continues to be just great stuff, great panel work, just really interesting elements. I love this style where occasionally they drop it to almost be like, reading prose off to the side with some visual elements. Just a really good book. I really enjoy it.
But you really see like a whole 180-degree turn of a whole character in one issue, and it was done so well. Yeah. You kind of feel somewhat neurotic along with him. I mean, as you're reading him going from this, this is what it was. Simply, it's really easy. I'm going back on my meds. I'm going to a doctor. I'm going to see a psychologist. Everything's fine. Yay, happy time. And then that, creeping doubt starts coming back in again. You start, because the guy's a loser. He really is kind of a pathetic character that we're enjoying. And then you keep thinking, like I said, I loved how this one started out with that whole, you remember this? You remember me being this? I'm getting here at some point. So at some point he gains some level of confidence. He isn't a bumbling fool, but I don't know. It's interesting. Good stuff. Highly recommended. So volume 2, I think, came out this week also. So there's 2 trades worth to pick up if people are interested as far as reading it in trade, as far as the singles go. So, yeah.
And it is on digital Hoopla, so I've been reading it.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, right. I was going to say, whatever the Hoopla is, you can get that way too. Yeah, sure. All righty. What else do you want to talk about?
How about Redlands?
Redlands. Yes, the new horror comic by Jody Valeri and Vanessa Del Rey. Jody Bellary, most of us know her as a Eisner Award-winning colorist. Stepping her foot in as being the writer also of a horror book. What you think, Luke?
Oh, it was great. This is the first thing she wrote, right?
It's the first commercially produced something.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that she's been at, like, when her and Declan Shelby and I think Vanessa and Cal's all kind of met each other was at a New York Comic-Con. Jody was just out of school, I think, and she had been dabbling in self-publishing kind of stuff, and then kind of got introduced to coloring and then became a colorist and all that. And then is just now coming back to Belair. I'm pronouncing Jody Belair. I've been pronouncing it wrong all this time, I'm being told. So
But I tell you
good
what,
that Jody's watching.
yeah.
It's like crazy right off the bat. I mean, it's chaos and it's
it's like you're dropped at the climactic middle end of a horror movie is where you start the book at. They've already tried killing the supposed bad thing, and it's gotten completely out of control, and they're all getting hosed because you find out really they're the bad guys. But yeah.
And the art was really good. I like how it was kind of sketchy, and the colors was very dark. It wasn't really. It really did accentuate the mood. I'm assuming Belair did the colors on that too.
Yes, she did. She did. Yeah.
It was awesome. It's just. I'm trying to think. It was only. Off the top of my head, red, orange, brown, black. It's only like a handful of colors in this.
I mean, there's like one moment where we get into a hues of gray where they're like in the basement where where the jail's at. You get a few elements that are kind of a cooler color, but most of the book is hot. Most of the color is stuff on fire or bleeding. That's kind of is the elements of it. Yeah.
And the little kid, the little girl they brought in from outside, did she turn into a devil at the bottom in the basement?
Yeah,
that's someone else that was just there.
To me, that was a confusing element, but I believe so. That by the time she got down there, she suddenly, as they're going, they go down the stairs. She makes some weird comments, and as they're starting to come back up the stairs, he's walking with her, and now she's got horns, and then goes whooshing around and tearing everything up. Yeah, cuts him in half. I mean, basically, and chops off another guy's head. And and I'm not. Yeah, there's some elements we're not 100% clear. I'm not worried about those elements that weren't clear, just because I'm assuming at some point they're going to explain to me. Because there's moments where there's these three witches. I mean, the premise it seems to be there are these witches that moved into Redlands, Florida, and they the redneck town folk, sheriff and whatnot, literally hangs them, lynches them. This is 2017, but at any rate, lynching these witches. Well, that goes really wrong. The witches clearly break themselves loose and basically attack. Most of the town has been emptied out, but they attack the sheriff's office, pretty much kill all the policemen in some giant blood sacrifice for the town and for whatever's coming next. I don't know. Like I said, there are some elements that I don't completely understand. Like I said, I'll wait and read because I don't have to have everything told to me right off the bat. But there's some comments in here. Killing everything would be a mistake, Alice. Besides, we couldn't kill them if we tried. Rose blood is part of them now.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means. That's an element that we just don't know what that means.
Yeah. I'm sure that'll get revisited. I mean.
Yeah. So
with the guy the guy who was there with them and then disappears. I'm sure that'll get flushed out. Right. It does a good job of piquing interest, and you're like, wow, off the first issue, which it grabs you, which is good. Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, horror comic is your thing. Definitely, I think it works as far as that goes. Like I said, it drops you into the most exciting part of like a horror movie kind of a thing. That kind of crazy moment where everything's just kind of, the hinges are flying off the doors and everything's going nuts. That's where the book starts out at. And now we'll go from there. I'm assuming like, the next issue will start in calmer moments. We'll start filling in, who these people are, what's really it all about, and all that kind of thing and whatnot. So for an opening issue, just to give you an opening salvo of excitement, it's definitely there and stuff. I don't know that I was like completely like blown away by it. I did enjoy it. I like the creators that are involved in the book. So I'm curious to see where they will go, what kind of story, elements they will have and whatnot. So I'm not hang around and read it for a while, just, based on that. And besides, I only had 12 books this week. So clearly I need to put something back on my poll because my poll is so light, so, hang around for a while, see what's going on. Like I said, I'm really curious. Next issue, I'll be curious to see what we get informed of. Who are these women? What's really going on? So, yeah. So, anything else you want to say about Redlands?
No.
Cool. What else? What's talk about? Mike, what
Shadow?
you got? Cool.
Oh, the Shadow.
This was an interesting way of doing the Shadow. I have a partner at work who he collects old Shadow, like the pulp magazines.
Uh-huh.
So I hear about the information, and they do kind of discuss it in here that very little is known about the Shadow. He fought in spies, he fought wars, gangsters. And then they kind of mentioned also that as time goes on, then it was about drugs. And this one opens up with a nurse who's taking care of a burn patient and removing his rags and giving him a bath. And she's telling him all about when she was in high school, how, it should have been normal. And then you get these 3 or 4 guys that are there for a school shooting. And as she's about to be shot, all of a sudden this Shadow appears and starts blasting their hands off and making them pay, and then finally doing almost like a Death Rider pennant stare into him. And then this guy, you instantly see like bugs starting to crawl on him. And it was, you could understand that he's made this guy basically go mad. And they said, the person who did the most killing of these, everybody knows his name, but the one that was captured and arrested and is in the asylum, nobody's ever heard of this guy, So it was very interesting to see this lady's story, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on too. And finally the burn patient says, why are you telling me this story? And she then alludes to that at one time, then all of a sudden, this burn guy comes walking in the hospital. I mean, he's covered head to toe in major degree burns. I don't remember, second, third, whatever. And so his whole body is just red. He's naked, and he starts fighting people. And he's like, I know. And then as he's leaving, he starts to laugh. And she goes, I remember that laugh of, I don't remember too much about the gunshots. I don't remember about what the kids said, but the laugh is what I remember. And it's you. And of course, at the end, he's saying, I don't remember anything. So is this person who's all burnt out the Shadow? We'll find out. But I'm really hoping that it's not just issue after issue of people telling their remembrance of the Shadow story. So
interesting way of going about it, though.
Yes.
That's written by Si Spurrier, is that right?
Correct, yeah. And so art by Daniel HDR. And I didn't know much about him. He looks like he's done a couple of Big Two things, here or there fill in. So I guess I could, so here's some of our artwork, the pennant stare over here. So it was an interesting style. I am on the fence right now on if I'm going to continue to pick this up. So, sure. Here's our burn victim and nurse. So, I don't need a whole bunch of different stories about the Shadow that people are reminiscing about. If I'm not getting a fluid story that's linear, I don't know that I need this.
Okay. I've read a lot of the Shadow, I guess, and so I wasn't excited to be picking up the Shadow right now. I've tried they've restarted the Shadow, I don't know, 4 or 5 times at Dynamite. And as much as I'm having fun with the Shadow hanging out with Batman, I don't feel the need right now to jump on, a Shadow title. So yeah.
And I gave it a try since Mr. Miracle was sold out. That was the other reason why I could spare that. My friend who at work was talking about it, he wasn't picking it up either because he's like, no, I'll spend extra money and get the pulps. So
Sure. Cool. Totally get that. Alrighty. Luke, you got any others you want to talk about?
No, that's it for me.
Let's see. I will talk about Grass Kings. This is issue number 6. Kind of ends an arc and starts the next one. So the last issue we ended with the police from the next town over, the sheriff's department and all of his posse raiding into this town. He's looking for his estranged wife, and they're having like kind of a shootout amongst each other. People aren't really gunning each other down, but they're like shooting really close to each other, and it's around the tipping point of it being an absolute slaughter of the townsfolk because they're outnumbered, and so therefore outgunned. They sent the townsfolk had sent a plane up into the air. They dropped down a giant bomb. We don't know what the bomb is. The bomb ends up being like a giant tear gas bomb, and they basically tear gas the entire town. Well, the town folk, the grass folk, they all got their gas masks on and whatnot, and so they chase everybody else basically out of town. The estranged wife ends up shooting the head of the sheriff's department. She shoots him in the gut because she doesn't want to go back. He gets drugged back anyway. Gets taken away. He doesn't die, but he's injured. And of course, he wants to go back and get him again. This whole thing inspires our Grass King to kind of take a better picture of his own life, who's responsible for what in his life, the loss of his little girl, all that kind of stuff. And towards the end of the book, he wanders out of town, drives to some other town where his ex-wife is living at to kind of apologize, to let her know that he doesn't blame her for anything. It's clearly his fault, his behavior, his drinking, his lack of paying attention as to why their daughter's gone, whether she's drowned, because they keep hinting at the fact there's a serial killer living in the Grass Kingdom, their place, or it was the serial killer that did it. We don't know, kind of a thing, and it kind of ends with him, coming to terms with that with the ex-wife and then going back home, and now there's this potential to be maybe exploring who among the townfolk might be the serial killer, be the next arc whenever that comes around. Still really enjoying the book. Still the cover stock on the Grass Kings. It's like bulletproof. It is so thick. It is so hard. It's harder than paperback books are. It's not a hardback, but it is darn close. It is crazy just how hard this. I don't understand it, how they can afford to do it, but it is. I don't know if you can hear that. It is amazingly stiff. It is just, it is just mind-bogglingly how stiff it is in comparison to everything else. I don't know. It's the same price as all Boom Studio comic books. It's $3.99. Same amount of pages in it. There's a brief little ad in the very back of it, but otherwise it's all comic. I don't know. I don't know how they afford to do it. They're not paying the creators to make it or something. I don't know, but because this cardstock is harder than my trades are. It's harder than the trades, so I don't know how they do it.
And who does that one? Did you say who are the writer?
Oh, that's Matt Kent on writing it, and Tyler Jenkins is doing the art. And the art looks like the cover. It's all sloppy pen and ink and watercolor. So not everybody's cup of tea, but for me it works as far as the telling the story and stuff that's going on. And so it's like I said, it's literally looks like somebody went and did a pen and ink drawing and then took some watercolor and filled in some spots and whatnot. So so a lot of it is loose and ethereal, kind of a deal. So sunset there. Anyway,
my shop was really talking that one up. So yeah,
I enjoy it. It's interesting. It's got a a lot of different characters in this town, so they got plenty of room to tell all kinds of stories around that, just kind of where they are. The town itself, the Grass Kingdom, at the beginning of each issue, they show some period in time way in the past, and they show some crazy violent thing going on this shore next to this lake where this is at. So I mean, this is like a place of turmoil. Like, this one's like 140 AD. It's literally showing back before people should even have been, the natives should have even been here. And it's got knights charging across the shoreline, battling stuff. So there's just kind of this odd element to the place, which is a whole nother thing. Is that why the place is crazy all the time? Because there's this other thing going on. Is that what got the daughter, maybe? Whatever this odd element of violence, is that what got her? Did she just, as a young girl, wander off and drown in the lake? Did the serial killer get the daughter? There's all this kind of other stuff that's kind of interesting. So, yeah. But, yeah. What else? What else are we talking about?
Did you get Hellboy BPRD?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. This seems like a really good starter book for somebody who wanted to get into the series, because it was like basic witchcraft and a little bit of social discussion. Mm-hmm. But I really didn't feel, compared to what I recently have read through the last 10 issues or whatever of this, it just also felt very simple.
This was a simple story. Hellboy and this new guy show up to a scene. There's something going bump in the night and eating the cattle. They go to figure out what it is. They immediately find what it is. They shoot some stuff, draw some circles, zap the demon. They brush their hands off, and they walk, back off to the, back to the shop. Basically, there's some social commentary in here. This is 1955. They're in Oregon. They don't like, African Americans at all. So there's lots of commentary on him being a scientist and being black. Why do you have that Negro here with you? I mean, they were more happy to talk to a, 7-foot tall thing with horns and a tail. They mentioned that in here, than they were to talk to, him. Much more comfortable to talk to Hellboy than they were talking to, the African American guy. So yeah, those elements there. Yeah, was this the most mind-blowing? No, it's not, because it's a one and done. It keeps it simple to some degree. For me, being a long-term reader of this stuff, this all fits within all of that. It's a fine element. No, was this a stellar? Oh my gosh, no. I think they do a better job when they do like a 3-issue story. Gives us a little more time to work on the case and get through the case to the other side of the case. This was less about the case than it was about building, I think, a relationship between these two and the potential of what this guy's going to be. Because, of course, at the very end of it, he walks off with that magic book. He's got a book in his hands that these kids used to summon up a demon that was eating everything. And now he's walking off with it. Now, is he going to turn it over to BPRD, or is he going to be a problem later on doing his own shenanigans? So for me, this feels like, even though it's in and of itself is a one-shot, I feel like it is set up for story that's coming later on.
Right. So Woodrow's not used like in the stuff that you're reading now, or previously, I should say?
No, I mean, maybe he's been mentioned, maybe, but no, because of course I'm reading 2017. Yeah. He would be a very, very old man. If he's in his mid to early 30s. I mean, if he's mid 20s to early 30s in this, that puts him a really old man by the time we hit 2016, right?
Things happen.
Yeah, well, right, but no, he's not.
Yeah.
I don't remember him offhand, or if he is, I'm not remembering his name, and the character has changed dramatically by the time we get to the, get to the future stuff and whatnot. So.
Which I guess would be good. If this is leading up to something, then I could be a lot happier. It just, I'm more than happy to pass this comic book on to somebody else who wants to get started. I think I'd say this is a good starting point.
Yeah. Well, you just want to remember that you look on the inside cover, This is issue number 16.
Yeah.
So depends on how you want to view it. You're going to view it as, did I get my story from this because it's supposed to be its own thing because it's this? Maybe it's not a grand story. If you look at it, this is issue 16 of a larger piece of work that you've been reading. This is adding to the history and setting up potentially the next things that are going on, right? Because in that one story we read, we get the beginning of the setup of the Asian American woman. You know, we start seeing her precognitive ability in one miniseries, and that gets used more heavily in the next one. But I think we needed that first one to set her up for those first elements, you know, with the monkey and all that stuff before we started using her later on. So that's what I'm saying is I don't know that this is set up to see more of this guy in a more meaningful way later on. And this is the beginning of us understanding who he is in relation to the world around him and Hellboy.
Yeah. All right.
Not that I'm making excuses of the fact that you're right. It was a pretty simple story.
I thought it was drawn well, though, too. I guess I really liked the way Hellboy looked in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm not familiar with Sean Martinborough, but yeah, right. Nice clean art for sure. Book I want to talk about, The Unsound. This is issue number 3. Really, really digging this book. If for nothing else, the art in it is nuts. We're in an insane asylum. We're in the sub-basement of an old insane asylum that was buried by the modern insane asylum. The people are being led through this insane asylum by a guy who is completely bonkers, one of the patients. He has them all walking around with paper plates over their faces as masks. And when they're wearing those paper plates, they kind of seem to see the world as it normally is. If they take those paper plates away, they start hallucinating and bad stuff comes to get them, kind of a thing. Our main character, we're slowly finding out that clearly she had a history of self-abuse herself. You know, some bad stuff happened in her life when she was younger. She was a cutter. She did self-harm. And that's why we've kind of seen the razor blades from issue 1 kind of going along. That's her own psychosis. We once again get another moment where there's just tons and tons of razor blades in this issue that stem back to her. Because she keeps taking her mask down. And the guy keeps warning her, no, especially all people, you should not take your mask off because we need you here and being whatever. But we see some of the other characters take their masks away and big evil monsters come and get them. But it's just the art in it. Like I said, Jack T. Cole, I just absolutely love his art. I love his colors. It's just all kinds of elements of crazy, you know, going on. And they're just kind of left to follow this crazy person through this catacombs to hopefully get them out of this place and away from because the insane asylum has gone, well, crazy. They're all loose. There's some supernatural element that's driving them all, and they are hunting down the people who work there and literally eating and tearing them apart, kind of thing. But like one woman tears her paper plate away because she's starting to have a panic attack, and when she pulls the paper plate away, then these 3 elements, these 3 creatures come rolling in. They've got these like necklaces of like, I don't know, baby dolls or something like that. These weird light bulbs hanging down, and they come and get her, and they tear her apart and drag her off into oblivion somewhere. They end up finding her later on. She's sitting in a chair. She's got one of those old-fashioned like cages that you'd put over someone's head to keep them from hurting themselves. She's trapped in one of those later on. It's really just got a lot of crazy elements. I don't know how much moving the plot forward happened in the book, but it was just still so awesome. Just all the art and just the insanity. It really is a very suspenseful book. It really gives you for me, gives you this push of crazy, of like, oh my God, head trip kind of, I dropped way too much acid, you know, kind of a thing is what it really feels like. And I'm really enjoying it. It's surprising though, this issue 3, it's only 4 issues. And I just don't know how they're going to tie this up in the next issue that's going to be satisfying. So I don't know how in 20 pages they're going to come to an end with it.
Do you think they might do multiple 4 arcs maybe?
I'd be okay with that if as long as they leave this one in some sort of a form in the off chance it didn't sell well enough for them to keep doing more. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is, but 4 issues seems awfully short for where we're at. You know, we're trying to run from the crazy house, and they're just deeper into the crazy house now. How in a single issue? And at the very end, there's like these kind of half mannequin people, 2 half mannequin people, and this guy who seems to be like some sort of surgeon doctor person who's half mannequin and half, I don't know, fishbowl and a bunch of other weird stuff going, oh, I'm here to help. And I don't know how that's going to help, you know? I mean, it just sounds really, really bad. I don't see how it's going to help. So I don't know, really curious about that. I'm loving the book, but I'm really curious, like I said, 20 issues, how do they even remotely tie this thing in a way to make you go, okay, that feels like an ending. So I
Who's
don't
the
know.
writer on that one?
That's Cullen Bunn.
Holy cow.
Yeah, Cullen Bunn is writing a ton of books right now.
I know.
He's writing like 4 or 5 horror books. I mean, there's Regression, there's The Unsound, there's The Dark Ark. I think he's writing some stuff for some even smaller presses too. This is a Boom Studio book, but yeah, he's writing, and then of course he's writing. I don't know. Yeah, Harrow County. He's writing 1 or 2 books for Marvel. Like he's writing Blue X-Men. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on. So I guess when the fire's hot, go for it. If you can do it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Let's see. Just me talking. Wicked and Divine. Issue number, what is this? This is issue number 30. Still really enjoying this. There's elements going on in this book. I'll be totally honest. I have no idea. I'm just rolling with it. Going, okay, cool. We'll see what this all leads to. It's definitely a book I'm going to go back and read again just to see how all the elements fit together, because I think it's a book that's written for you to read it more than once. There's just lots of subtle nuance with the characters and how they interact with each other that I'm not always 100% sure on. I'm also fairly sure, being an old guy, I'm not totally hip on some of the jargon in the book, as far as I'm not Tumblr savvy as well as some people are and whatnot. So there's some elements I have to take a little bit longer to look up to understand exactly how it all pans out and whatnot. But I'm still really enjoying it. I like the characters. I love the art in it. I mean, at this point, they're so close to the end. They're coming, and these characters are all gods. They live for 2 years, and then they supposedly expire. Well, they've killed the person off that's told them that's how this all works. So now they're not 100% sure if they're going to die in those 2 years. Is the dark element going to come and get them all in that 2 years because they aren't dying to keep that at bay? Nobody's really sure, but a lot of them are living like it's their last days. So some of their base tendencies are coming out. Some of them are incredibly violent. There's some wild killing going on. Some of the gods are kind of turning on each other. So there's some interesting elements that are going on with it. So, and lastly, Low. This is issue number 19. We are with let's see, one of the daughters, a AI robot that got introduced about midway through the series, and this Mer woman are all down in our original city under the sea. It's in its last moments. They've got probably 72 hours before they literally run out of air, and they will all die of the poisonous air and whatnot. They have figured out that they think there's a place they can live in a different solar system, in Andromedan, but they don't know exactly where, but they think they should go there. And they have a battle with the Senate in this issue as to whether or not they should just launch their city up to get to this place and whatnot. They basically riot and do so. They launch the city. So it is, by the end of the issue, this dome city is literally blasting up through the ocean, heading towards Andromeda to God knows where. They have a 3% chance of finding the real place they're supposed to go to, but it's better than dying where they're dying at now, kind of a thing. Supposedly, as they're launching up through the atmosphere, they can gather as much oxygen or whatever it is they need to then survive a trip through space, I guess. Not sure exactly how that part's going to... The way it ended, it made me very nervous. It ended in a way that made it feel like that could have been the ending. Oh, with hope, we're moving forward. that could be the ending. We're left to just kind of wonder, did they make it or not make it? We don't know. Mom's somewhere on the surface of Earth, you know, fighting monster insects and all kinds of other stuff. She was dying of radiation poisoning, but we're not 100% sure that she's dead. There's this stuff that's going on under the ocean, clearly. I wasn't sure. And I was just getting ready to tweet Rick Remender and go, was this the end? You know, or what? Because the only thing at the back of it says coming in October, Volume 4. Well, Volume 4 is the fourth, you know, trade. But you know, because somebody else tweeted him and said, you know, hey, is this the end? Because it felt like there could be more, or this could be the finale. And he's like, oh no, there's more story. So I guess there's more story. I don't know when, but I like the book. The art isn't as strong as what it used to be. I don't know if you know, Tonachi is more pressed for time, so he's got a little bit looser style than what he used to have. So it's not quite so clear. Or if it's still the fact that because he doesn't color his own work, he's having to ink it more, and then the colorist goes in and colors it, so the ink lines are thicker than what they were when he was just doing all of it himself. Not 100% sure on that. Still really enjoy it. But clearly not a book you can jump in just anywhere. You got to start at the beginning, kind of a thing. But I still really like it. Visually, to me, it's very stimulating. I just really like the way it looks on the page. And then I'm enjoying the story too, but it really largely is the art. Yeah. And that's it. That's it for my books. Any other whatever we think we want to talk about or need to talk about? I can't think of anything.
Well,
Yeah. All righty. Well, thanks guys for coming on and talking. Always appreciated. Come back anytime, Luke. Always happy to have you on to shoot the breeze and talk some books and whatnot. I think we'll be back next week. You know, we may have a changing cast next week as far as who's going to be there. Mike's not going to be there, but the rest of us maybe. We'll kind of see how that all plays out. Or maybe a week we take a break. So we'll see when we get to next week. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you everybody who commented. And thanks for everybody who watches us after the fact. That's always appreciated too. At any rate, have a great night, great weekend, and maybe we'll see you next week.